to resettle all IDPs. There was no question of what their ethnic background was. It was a question of the resettlement of IDPs.
Have you heard of sentiments being expressed by members of the Luo community that they are not receiving their fair share of government disbursements to assist post-election violence victims?
Madam President, what I am aware of is that there have been there have been complaints from some quarters that the process has taken too long, but I am not aware as per which community, because those sentiments have been across the board from all IDPs.
In a video shown by your defense team yesterday, the video in which you were standing on a car with Louis Nguya and you were speaking to a group of young persons, you said something to the effect that, quote, "I promise you, anyone who has lost their land will get their land back." Did you say something to that effect?
Yes, I did.
The group that you were addressing, were they predominantly Kikuyus?
Yes, those were they are the ones who were blocking the road. Yes, that is correct.
Have you made any such pledge or promise to other ethnic groups since you became Deputy Prime Minister?
Madam President, the group that I was addressing was a group who at the time were engaged in acts of violence, and we were trying to calm the situation. Since then, we have been addressing ourselves as a government to the issue of IDPs, irrespective of their ethnic background.
Have you made such a pledge to members of the Luo community?
Madam President, as Minister of Finance of the Republic of Kenya, I have made that as a pledge to all IDPs, regardless of their ethnic background.
Mr. Kenyatta, when victims apply to participate in this case, they fill out an application. And there's a question in that application, question 29. It asks them to indicate who they feel is responsible for the harm or violence they suffered. Many victims, and I will state the pseudonyms of the victims because Learned Counsel opposite have had access to these documents. Many of them mention Mongiki, they mention Kikuyu men, they mention Mongiki and Kikuyu men. Examples are A827811, A828111, A844811, A844511. And then some of them go a step further, and they not only mention the Mongiki, they mention the Mongiki in a political context. For example, victim number A8280 says, regarding those who were responsible, quote, they were, quote, Mongiki from the Kikuyu community. This was due to incitement from the political leaders, which was done during the 2007 post-election violence. Another victim, A8451, says, they were Mongiki who were paid by some politician to come and kill Luos, Luyas, and Kalenjins in Naivasha area. Have you heard such sentiments expressed, Mr. Kenyatta, that the Mongiki were not only the assailants, that they were urged on and had a connection with politicians to execute the crimes that they did?
Madam Chair, that's what we have been hearing since we've been here, so I have heard.
Outside of the courtroom, as you campaign for the presidency of Kenya, have you heard such sentiments expressed?
Madam President, if we're talking about the election of 2007, I was not a presidential candidate.
I am not speaking about that. You intend to run for the presidency in 2012, yes?
Yes, indeed, I do.
And to that effect, you do undertake political campaigns around the country, yes?
Yes, I do.
As you speak to people around the country, have you heard such sentiments expressed?
Sentiments to do with the fact that the Mungeke were killing?
Yes.
No, I have not heard those sentiments, Madam President.
Will you agree with me that the Mungiki were involved in committing acts of violence against victims during the post-election violence of 2007?
Madam President, what I do know is that during the post-election period, there were acts of violence that were committed against innocent Kenyans. As to who committed those acts of violence, whether they were Mungeke or otherwise, I cannot say. But I do know, Madam President, that there were acts of violence committed against innocent Kenyans.
So we do not have an agreement on whether or not the Mungiki were involved. Yes?
Madam President, I do not know. It could have been the Mungeke, it could not have been the Mungeke. What I do know is that there were acts of violence committed against innocent Kenyans. That I do know.
A victim applying to participate mentions you. Not just one victim, quite a few of them. This is victim number 861211. Asked who is responsible, the victim says, Uhuru Kenyatta. He meeting at Green Lodge Hotel, Naivasha, after messages were spread. So this victim is speaking about a meeting at the Green Lodge Hotel in Naivasha. Another victim, victim 86...
Perhaps you can ask whether he's ever been to the Green Lodge Hotel in Naivasha. It's not an opportunity to make speeches by this council. It's an opportunity to ask questions, so please do so.
Yes.
Madam President, with all due respect, I can read two witness applications and then ask a question. I can control the mode of questioning to the witness so long as I'm fair to the witness.
Not the whole of the victim's applications, but these parts
relevant.
Yes, that are relevant and that substantiate the point that you would like to make.
Yes, because I would like to read the second one before asking him the question.
From the English booth, could counsel please be requested to slow down? Thank you very much.
Slow down, Mr. Anya.
Yes, Madam Interpreter. Thank you. Mr. Kenyatta, another victim. Victim number 861011. Who is responsible? This victim says, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. Immediately after his meeting, everything changed and hostility filled the whole region. Two victims refer to a meeting, Mr. Kenyatta. One mentions the Green Lodge Hotel in Naivasha, and the other one just refers to a meeting. Did you hold such a meeting at the Green Lodge Hotel in Naivasha?
Madam President, I am not familiar with any Green Lodge Hotel in Naivasha. And as for the second question, Madam President, I have never held any meeting, so I do not know what meeting the person is referring to, since I have never held any meeting to plan any kind of violence against any Kenyan.
I could read more victim applicants who mentioned you. The question, Mr. Kenyatta, is why? Why do you suppose these displaced persons in Nakuru, Naivasha, are mentioning you directly as being responsible?
Madam President, I do not know why, but I can only guess as my lead counsel said in his opening statement, the issue of myself being mentioned with regard to the post-election violence was at a press statement that was issued on the 2nd or the 3rd, I can't remember, the 3rd, I think it was, of January, where the Honorable Raila Odinga went on public media and said that Mungiki was committing genocide and that that was being planned at State House in my presence. A fact, Madam President, which we have said we were never at any State House meeting, but that perception, Madam Speaker, could possibly be why those victims have then said, because they heard Raila Odinga say Uhuru Kenyatta was at State House planning violence with Mungiki, that could be why they would then turn and say that it was Uhuru Kenyatta who organized the Mungiki, because they heard it on public broadcast.
So it is with reference to a statement by Raila Odinga that you find the explanation for the victims connecting you with their victimization. Beyond what Mr. Odinga said, do you know of another reason why these victims would mention you in their applications?
I know of no other reason, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Kenyatta, there is one question from the bench, and it is related to this article of Mr. Peter Kagwanya. A little bit difficult for me to pronounce, I'm sorry, I excuse myself. Did you take any legal action concerning the author of this article associating you with the Mungiki? This is our question.
Madam President, I was only aware of that particular document when it was part of the disclosures of this particular case. I was not aware of its existence prior to that, when we saw it as one of the disclosures in this particular case. And Madam President, that is something I intend to take legal action on soon after we are through with this particular case. I was not aware of its existence before that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kenyatta. On behalf of the bench, there are no more questions, so now the lead counsel, you have the floor. Of course, I was referring to the lead counsel in the defense team of Mr. Kenyatta, but obviously Mr. Khan from other defense team, if anything said by Mr. Kenyatta touches upon the interests of your client, of course you have the opportunity to pose some questions, Mr. Khan.
Madam President, Your Honours, we're most grateful. I did indicate to my learned friend that we would ask, with Your Honours' leave, to ask questions of Mr. Kenyatta for about 5 to 8 minutes. So perhaps, with your leave, we can proceed.
Yes, of course.
Madam
Please,
President, my learned friend, Ms. Allegendra, will ask the questions.
Yes, Ms. Allegendra, the floor is over to you.
Good afternoon, Your Honours. Good afternoon, sir, Mr. Kenyatta.
Good afternoon.
Sir, during the campaigning period of November and December 2007, could you tell the court, please, what was the nature and extent of your contacts with Ambassador Muthaura?
Madam President, I did not have any contact with Ambassador Muthaura because he was not in the political campaign. I think during that particular period, the only time I can say I met him was on the 12th of December during the national celebrations, what we call Jamhuri Day, where he was present. But he was not at all involved in any way whatsoever with the campaign. The presidential campaign, the team leader was the vice president at the time, who was the Honorable Mudi Awori.
So my next question to you is, could you tell the court what was the nature and extent of your contact with Ambassador Muthaura in the month of January of 2008?
Madam President, in the month of January, I met Ambassador Muthaura on the day of swearing in, which I think was on the 10th. I met him also when we had the first cabinet meeting, and I think we had a number of other cabinet meetings during that particular time where I did meet him.
So you told the court that the Grand Coalition Cabinet was formed in April 2008. Am I correct?
That is, I didn't say that. I think it was one of the counsel that that said that. It was around April anyway. It was around April when the Grand Coalition Government was formed.
Thank you, sir, for that. So do you know when the National Accord was signed?
The National Accord, to the best of my recollection, was either the end of February or middle end of February, if I'm not wrong.
And of what year, sir, please?
2008.
So to your knowledge, do you know if there were any initial problems in the formation of the Grand Coalition Cabinet?
Yes, there were a number of problems, because I think there was a lot of discussion and negotiation as a result of the fact that the cabinet now had to be appointed by the President in consultation with the Prime Minister.
And sir, to the best of your knowledge, are you aware if during this period there were any secret meetings between His Excellency President Kibaki and the Prime Minister Honorable Raila Odinga in order to find a solution?
I don't have any evidence, but indeed we did hear that there were a number of meetings that were being held to try and resolve the impasse and to ensure that a cabinet was formed. And that's why it took some time to form cabinet after the accord was signed. But I am aware that there was some kind of meetings. We did hear of some kind of meetings that were going on to resolve the impasse.
And sir, did you hear if Ambassador Muthaura had any role in any of these meetings to find a resolution?
Again, I was not there, but if I am to go on hearsay, we did hear that Ambassador Muthaura and the PS Isa Hakia were also involved in those discussions.
So I'm going to read to you from the transcript of the 22nd of September 2011. And what I'm going to read to you, sir, is the presentation by the learned prosecutor, Ms. Adeboejo. And this is what Ms. Adeboejo told the court. Your Honor, I'm reading from page 39, lines 18 to 25, and page 40, lines 1 to 2. So my learned friend said this. She said, Prosecution Witness 12 explains that on or around 30 December 2007, Muthaura held a meeting in the office of John Michuki in Nairobi on the deployment of the Mungiki to Kibera. And further down at lines 25, she informed the court that Kenyatta was present in this meeting along with other PNU officials and Mungiki members. And my learned friend referred this honorable court to the following items of evidence: EVD, PT, OTP 00652 at 0120 to 0122, EVD, PT, OTP 0061 at 0315 to 0320, and also to EVD PT OTP 00662 at 0329 to 0330. Sir, from our reading of these exact items of evidence, and by our I mean the Muthaura team, we did not find a reference to any such meeting where yourself or Ambassador Muthaura are present at Honorable Michuki's office in Nairobi. Nevertheless, I would like to ask you this question based on counsel's submissions to this court. Sir, did you ever attend a meeting at Honorable Michuki's office on 30 December 2007, which was held by Ambassador Muthaura in order to discuss the deployment of Mungiki to Kibera?
Madam President, as I said earlier, on the 30th of January, I was at the Kenyatta International Conference Center from morning all the way until when the election results were announced at approximately...
I'm sorry, 30 December.
Oh, 30th December.
2007.
Yes, 30th December. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir. 30 December.
30th December. I was at the Kenyatta International Conference Center from morning until when the election results were announced at about late afternoon, around 4 or so. So there was no way I could have been at that meeting, and there is a substantial number of people who would witness to the fact that I was at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, including the Prime Minister himself, Raila Odinga, because he was there at the Kenyatta International Conference Center. And from there, I went to State House at approximately 5 p.m. when the inauguration ceremony was about to start. And even there we did not have any discussion with Ambassador Muthaura, because I just took my seat and he was the master of ceremony at the function, introduced the function. The President was sworn in. The function lasted about an hour, and we all left immediately after that. We did not meet at any other place on that particular day. There was no meeting between myself and Ambassador Muthaura and Michuki on the 30th of January to discuss anything to do with Mungiki. And for that matter, we have never had a meeting with Ambassador Muthaura and John Michuki to discuss issues related to Mungiki.
Sir, just to be clear, we are talking about 30th December. Am I
It's
correct?
30th, if it is the day of the inauguration that we're talking about.
Yes. So my final question to you is, have you ever been to the office of Honorable Michuki at Kagan House with Ambassador Muthaura? Have you ever been there together with Ambassador Muthaura?
Madam President, I have never been to Honorable Michuki's office at Kagan House with Ambassador Muthaura.
Thank you very much, sir, for your answers.
Thank you, Ms. Alexandra. I see Mr. Munari. You have questions as well?
Sorry about that. I intend to take about 3 minutes.
Thank you. Go ahead, please. The floor is open.
If I can just take 3 minutes. Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the prosecutor asked a question that alluded to the fact that Honorable Raila Odinga did not file an election petition because he had no faith in the Kenyan judiciary. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Are you aware whether members of his party filed election petition with regard to the National Assembly and the civic authorities from the last elections, 2007?
Madam President, I'm not aware about civic elections, but indeed I am aware that the Orange Democratic Movement did file a series of election petitions with regard to parliamentary seats. Yes, that did happen.
And are you aware whether these parliamentary seat, the election petitions were adjudicated upon by the High Court?
Yes, I am aware, and in a number of instances, the election results for a number of constituencies were annulled by the High Court.
Will I be correct then to conclude that the failure to file the election petition, the presidential election petition, was a selective choice?
Madam President, I would say yes, because indeed they did file election petitions for a number of parliamentary seats, which were in a number of instances adjudicated in their favor.
And instead he called for mass action.
Yes, that is what happened, Madam President. He called for mass action.
Madam President, that's the end of my cross-examination.
Thank you, Mr. Mundari. Now, finally, the floor is over to you, Mr. Kay.
I'll be very brief, Your Honour. Thank you. The first matter is this, Mr. Kenyatta. In relation to that statement on the 3rd of January 2008 by the Right Honourable Raila Odinga, alleging State House, Mungiki, Kenyatta, etc. Did you take legal action for defamation against the KTN television network for publishing that slander?
Yes, Madam President, because when the caption was aired by KTN, we did call their management and asked them to make an immediate retraction, which they did not do. So we were therefore forced to take legal action.
Were you awarded substantial damages in the High Court of Kenya as a result of that defamation?
Yes, I was, Madam President.
This might be of interest to victims' counsel. In relation to those damages, did you take the damages for yourself, or did they get applied by you in another direction?
Madam President, I set up a fund for IDPs, and that money was applied to that fund.
Have other awards in libel cases been applied by you in that way?
Yes, Madam President, I have had another award which I have also applied to the same, and the reason we have not made any disbursement is because we have made further application, because we thought that the award should have been higher. So we are waiting for that to be adjudicated before we disperse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kay. The Chamber does not intend to proceed with the second witness. That's why I shall ask now Mr. Kenyatta to go back to his seat. Thank you very much, Mr.
Madam
Kenyatta.
President, Your Honours, before he goes to his seat, I just want to correct something that my learned friend just read to you with regards to this witness when she was, that's Ms. Alakandra, when she was asking him questions on behalf of the team of Ambassador Muthaura, and she said specifically concerning EVD.
Just a moment, Mr. De Bourgeois, this is just a clarification. You're
Just
not going
a
to ask
clarification.
questions.
Not at all.
Because, you know,
Not at
thereafter
all.
I have to give again the floor to the defense.
Not at all, it's just to
Please,
clarify the
please,
records. She referred to EVD, PT, OTP 00652 on page 120. We just wanted to clarify that Mr. Kenyatta is mentioned as being present in Michuki's office, but not Ambassador Muthaura. We wanted that to be clarified.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. De Bourgeois. Let us not go into disputes. that is in the record, what you said, Ms. Alexandra, and what Ms. Adebuejo. Mr. Kenyatta, please go back to your seat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are not going to invite the next witness of the defense of Mr. Kenyatta because the idea of the chamber is that it will be much better to start tomorrow. There are some changes, organizational matters that have been consulted with the lead counsel of Mr. Muthaura. As we are behind schedule, since the early morning hours of today, we are trying to find some hours in addition to the schedule. Of course, the availability of this courtroom, because there are other judges sitting. The registry could arrange that we have 2 morning sessions in addition to the regular afternoon sessions. We have discussed this matter with Mr. Khan because of the health issues of Mr. Muthaura. We are going to proceed as of 9:30 till 11, 11:30 till 1 o'clock, and thereafter our regular sessions in the afternoon. This is for Monday. Oh, I'm sorry, didn't I mention this? It's my mistake. So by this, we hope that we are going to finish as scheduled in our initial schedule. If Mr. Muthaura wouldn't feel very comfortable staying longer in the courtroom, of course, due to the healthy reasons, and this has nothing to do with the first case when one of the suspects wanted to come and go whenever it pleases him, which is inappropriate and disrespectful to the proceedings and to the court. Mr. Muthaura, you are free whenever you feel uncomfortable and not at ease to go back to your hotel. If there are no any other matters, tomorrow we shall proceed as of 2:30 with the second witness of the defense team of Mr. Kenyatta. We adjourn the hearing till tomorrow.
Wednesday, the 2 plus 2 hours.
I shall tell them later on. Just Tarfur is reminding me that on Wednesday we are going to have, instead of 2 sessions of 1 hour and a half, 2 sessions of 2 hours, just in case we need a little bit more time. But if we would finish early, of course, and if there is no reason to be in the courtroom, we are not going to spend any more time in the courtroom. I wish you a very good evening, thanking every one of you. And with my, as always, very special thanks to the interpreters, stenographers, court reporters, court officers, security officers, and everyone who was present today in the hearing. Thank you. Have a nice evening. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise, we will